my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious
It has begun!
Calm down, Doctor. Now is not the time for fear.
Trying to misbehave.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where monthly we go through the highlights and the lowlights, I guess, of the month's events in Geek. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And joining me is my usual panel of fellow geeky ne'er-do-wells. First of all, starting off with the sick Brinton volley. Brinton, it is once again that time of year. Once again.
The time when you mix our names up.
I know, and I don't even have like cool things to say like Ramdo Fett, because I'll have to figure that out. Darn it, Brinton, how are you this fine evening? Aside from the nasty cold you're dealing with,
surviving,
and it's actually kind of appropriate considering that you have basically been running around endlessly, if not for your master's degree. Also because, well, congratulations, you got married.
Yay! Congratulations.
And I love the
Thank
fact that your
you.
husband got roasted because he wore a kilt in 20-degree weather.
he so many people were just like would come up to me and were like, "Is he cold?" And I was like, "No, girl, he's in his element. He's totally okay."
Well, I found it funny that the person who presided over it, like, I could hear a bunch of conversations while we were waiting to get things started about you. He's just like, he was just like, "You crazy," and I tried to get everybody else to say he was crazy.
Yeah, he will wear shorts while it's like a blizzard outside and be completely okay. And
He's
wear
one of those.
I was gonna say,
like,
Alex, there's another one.
I mean, like we truly are just the polar opposites. He'll wear a flimsy jacket, short sleeve shirt, shorts,
Yep.
a pair of tennis shoes, and then I have like 50 billion layers. So
this is once again the same situation Alex had with me going to the theater one time, where he's like all bundled up in his coats and everything like that. I come out in a t-shirt and jean shorts and sneakers. He's like, "You suck." Like, yes, I can see why you think that.
I mean, even when we're just like on the couch, he'll be sitting there and he's like, "I'm sweating." And I have like 5 blankets, sweatpants, a sweater, maybe gloves on if I'm really that extra. And he's just looking at me and I'm looking at him and I'm like, "Oh, really? You're sweating."
I get it. I totally do. So, also, we have Alex the Shadow Blazer here. Alex, how do you feel now that you're both done with your transition from one store to the next, and then also the weather is getting colder, which means extra layers and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, the transition went smooth as smooth can be, I guess.
Good.
Probably better than I would have expected. So, but the fun is still yet to begin because we're going into the holidays here.
So what thing this year will be treated like Beanie Babies?
Good question.
We'll find out, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's something. Well, you know what? There is something. Every day we get calls for Hello Kitty blankets, and we never have them.
Oh no!
But
Hello Kitty is back on the market, boys. Okay, well,
yep.
Yeah, I've seen a huge surge in Hello Kitty merchandise lately.
Do they have
So,
like a new series or something coming out?
I was gonna say I want to do a little bit more digging into where this surge is coming from because it doesn't just happen for no reason.
I mean, it's not like Hello Kitty has
Especially
been
Instagram
gone.
thing.
I mean, you could still go to a little girl section in a Target and see something.
Yeah,
I mean-
it does seem like the character's made a resurgence of late. Like there's
I
so
mean-
much more merchandise.
I mean, there's like large sections of malls in Japan just dedicated solely to like Hello Kitty merchandise. So it's not a dead IP, it's thriving.
But you want to know what a
It's
dead IP is? Dem Funko Pops, boys. I don't know if you guys did. You guys
wish.
see the
That is
news on that? The Funko bubble popped.
I was gonna say,
Really?
is this a segue into something? Because that's a good
No,
segue.
the reason we're not going to be talking about it tonight, but I have a feeling it's going to be happening next month because the bubble just barely popped, and it's like the beginning of November. So at that point, I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about this next month. But yeah, Funko Pops are so the Funko bubble has popped, and in fact, the last thing I heard was the company that makes them might be filing for bankruptcy in the next week or two.
Oh
So
shit.
yeah, well, I mean, I mean, I feel bad because a business might be going out of business, but at the same time, I don't have to see those damn Funko Pops everywhere I go. It's like
I
like, can
mean,
you
they
have
were.
one without the other?
I mean, they were fun initially, and like I do have a
Right,
bunch.
right,
However, after a while, I was just like, being somebody who also really enjoys collecting amiibo, and I'm not one of those. I have every single
right,
amiibo, because because some are just really really
and
expensive, and I
also
wasn't
like
gonna drop.
super hard to find.
Well, yeah, like if you don't pre-order certain amiibo, still even like we're almost 10 years of them being on the
Right.
market. Like if you still don't pre-order 10 years into them being a thing, you just flat out won't ever find
Nope.
one unless they reprint them, and then there's enough people who already have it, and if you just happen to get lucky, and I've gotten very lucky on an occasion. um but like the most recent amiibo that just came out were Zelda and Ganondorf from Tears of the
Mhm.
Kingdom, and I did not pre-order them, and I do not expect to ever see them
No, in
ever.
fact, the way I've heard it, there's a third figure, but it's Japan only. And that's the funny thing about amiibos is that one of the reasons that they become incredibly rare is that if the demand goes up in Japan, they will reroute that shit to Japan. So at that point, unfortunately, the American audience they suffer from that as well. But there is a third figure, I think it's Raru, and they're actually considering lessening the amount of because I think it's Link too. So Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf, and they're considering lowering how many the states get in order to serve the Japanese public. And that's sad too, because like I wouldn't mind, like I have the champions amiibos. So at that point, I wouldn't mind having a Raru one. I like how Raru looks, but
Yeah, I got very lucky with the Tears of the Kingdom
mhm,
link, like extremely lucky. And it was very much an impulse purchase. I'm not gonna lie, I really, really wanted
right,
it. Um, and I and if it wasn't for the fact uh that I put in a lot of money into my wedding, I would have also pre-ordered Zelda and Ganondorf.
exactly.
But essentially, I didn't have the money.
Hmm.
Um, so that's
Yep.
that.
So at that point,
That's my sad
I think
tale.
that's a wonderful segue to actually get into what we've been playing and what we've been watching for the
Oh,
month of
great.
October. So, Alex, do you want to go ahead and take the honors first?
I got really nothing new to report since our
No,
last
no
recording.
Spider-Man 2?
I finally ordered it. I just keep forgetting about it because again, it's been so busy
Well,
the last
are you
couple
even done
months.
with Miles yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So like
I'll
that's why
finish
it's
it.
so low on the priority list.
Yeah, it'll be finished but I will finish it before I actually start playing Spider-Man 2.
Yes. It sounds to me like that would, because the way I understand it is you need to know the Miles story as well as some of the DLC story for the first game in order for 2 to make sense. So, um, I haven't heard so much on the DLC, but Miles' story needs to be known. So it would be a good idea for you to do it. Has there been anything major you've been watching that you want to point out?
Really? I already talked about some of the anime I was watching last time, and I'm still on them, so nothing really too new to report from me.
Okay. Brinton, what about you?
So, nothing like over the top or new
Right.
from September for
You've been
me.
playing the college
Uh,
and marriage game. There you go.
yes, I
The college game with
uh,
marriage DLC. There you go.
all of the like October releases that I was excited for. There were like 4 games. One that I can't remember off the top of my head right this second, but let's just say out of those 4 games, I've only had money to buy 2, and I don't know when I'll have money to buy the other
Right.
2, or even know if I'm gonna have time, because one of them is Alan Wake 2. However, Jason wants to see the first game before I start playing the second, which makes complete and total
Yeah,
sense.
we actually are going to
Um,
do that too.
but to answer your question, Adam, I don't have anything in terms of gaming, but in terms of television, I just finished the second part of the Bleach, the Thousand Blood War.
Okay.
So like season 2, and I actually also finished watching the first season of Chainsaw Man.
Oh, that's actually another anime that's been recommended to me quite a bit. Um, so would you recommend it? Or
Um, I've read the
uh,
manga. Like I'm very much read the manga
yes.
first before watching the anime. Uh, so so I guess I'm very much like the epitome of, oh, I like reading the book first.
Mm,
I like the book better, but Um, I think the anime adaptation is absolutely
okay.
phenomenal. If you can handle high amounts of gore, then I think that it's something that you'll be able to look past, because
Well,
the story of Chainsaw Man is really, really well done.
well, I handled Akira, so I think at that point I'm good. And the original Battle Angel Alita, so I think I'll be okay.
Well, I mean, Adam. Adam. Once you start watching Chainsaw Man, you're probably gonna text me and be like, "You watched this?" And I'm gonna be like, "Yes,
I mean,
yes, I
I'm
did."
probably still gonna do it. I'm just gonna be honest with you, because I'm probably gonna look at that and go, "Wow, okay."
Our little Brenton's growing up. No, there are definitely moments that I looked away. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
and
lie.
then somebody you
Um,
say that, and then somebody's gonna put in the comments, "Oh, is he ready for the Is he ready for the MK fatalities?" Hell no, probably not.
nah, no, but
I'm not even ready for the MK
not
fatalities now.
Tatsuki Fujimoto is an incredible
Okay,
author. He like his his style of manga and his style of art is unique and different. Um, and just can be like a little weird, but however, the stories that he tells are really well really well done. So I really enjoyed watching Chainsaw Man.
nice.
Um
So
I really enjoyed it.
question for you on Bleach though, because you said season 2. So at that point, I
Yes.
mean, how many more seasons are they gonna go for Thousand Year Blood War?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a total of 4 seasons or
Wow.
5. Um what what Kubo is doing with the Thousand Year Blood War and its anime adaptation, he's very much involved with the animation process, and he's actually changing small bits and pieces of the story that he was not able to
That's
originally
what I was hearing,
convey.
because I guess he got rushed when he was doing the manga for it, and so now
Very
he wants to
much.
flesh it out.
Yeah, so there's actually been a few Bankai that were not revealed in the manga that have been revealed in the anime, which has just been absolutely insane.
Okay.
Um, One of them being like the have both of you seen or read through the Thousand Year Blood War at all?
I've only been told a lot of the major stuff. I actually, as soon as it got announced, I avoided any kind of spoilers, but I do know that a ton of Bankai get revealed, and the fact that you're telling me that even more Bankai get revealed, that just gets me even more excited. The only thing I'm worried about is it kind of goes into my next question, like how long are each season in terms of episodes?
12 episodes.
That's what I was worried about, because like 24 episodes on a binge streak, that I'll nuke through that. So it might actually be worthwhile to wait until season 3 at least to start watching this.
Yeah, I got very antsy. And I just barely finished season 2. Because the dub the dub for the last episode came out just this last weekend when I was in California.
Wow.
So I watched it on the way back home.
Yeah, I'll probably wait then, because if it's like, if there's a bare minimum of like 30, then I can at least pace that out and still get, you know, my whatever satisfaction I can get from it. But 4 seasons, okay. How long are the episodes? Cause are they just the same 20-minute?
The like 24, 25 minutes, yeah. But
Okay.
the time between seasons isn't like a year. Like the wait between 1 and 2 was about 4 to 6 months, and they already are saying that season 3 will come out early 2024.
That's
So
just surprising to me,
it's
because everybody's told me Thousand Year Blood War is the longest arc in Bleach. The only other one that beats it or comes close to it is the Wake Up Moon, or the Aizen Arankar arc. And at that point, it's just like, okay, 4 seasons of 12 episodes each. Does that mean that it's getting highly condensed, or how are they going
no,
about it?
no, that's that's the funny thing. Because I was like, because by the end of the second season, I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's so much extra content, but we're actually like rapidly approaching the end.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, it's definitely something, some stuff to consider. Okay, so at that point we have those, and you haven't really been playing anything because, well, you've been playing College the Game with the marriage DLC. I like how that sounds now. Um,
Yeah.
so at that point, for me, I hate to tell you this, I'm actually I've been just probably as busy, because unfortunately the busy season for my work actually started up, and we had to start having a slight increase because Amazon decided in their infinite wisdom to do a Prime Week in the middle of October, as opposed to last year where I think they did it like the week before Black Friday. So that'll be interesting to see what they do about that. But in the meantime, though, I have been able to play quite a bit, but some people are going to be a little weirded out by this. I went back into Blizzard games, and part of the reason is because of BlizzCon 2023 and the announcements that happened there. So at that point, I was already doing like heroic modes and turbulent timeways in WoW Dragonflight, which, by the way, for all the people who are complaining in my videos about the boring and crappy heroic footage, guess what? There's a lot of it.
Oh my god.
So at that point, enjoy. Yeah, because I'm just recording what I'm enjoying playing, and so at that point, if I can go and get a quick dungeon done in like 15 minutes, then I just do it. But not only that, I actually got back into Hearthstone, because I decided, after some of the things I was seeing in the panels, to check out what the game has been doing, and holy crap, Hearthstone has a bunch of single player content now that is it's going to take me a while to get through all of it. Like, they had the solo adventures anyway, and the time that I stopped playing it, they were messing around with kobolds and catacombs. But now they have like a full-on mercenaries mode that's just single player. They have things like Tavern Brawl that allow you to get into a game, and one of the things that hurt me all the time is, since it's a card game, and I have the same problem with Yu-Gi-Oh as well, is I'm so behind the curve of everybody else. I don't have all the really awesome cards. So at that point, I kind of have to make up for my gaps while I do additional content to be able to craft the cards that are helpful. And in features like Tavern Brawl, they actually just say, nope, we'll hand you the deck and you guys go nuts. And I love that concept, because then at that point, for me, who has shitty luck when it comes to drawing from card packs in any card game, I now have access to legendaries that maybe I don't have. People ought to look at my card book. I have 5 or 6 legendaries. That's about it. So I've been doing that. And then also, Alex might want to wring my neck for this, but I've also been messing around with Warcraft Rumble. Because I wasn't like, when the trailer initially came out, I was not interested. It just looked to me like Clash of Clans, and I played a little bit of that and wasn't really intrigued by it. But Rumble, in my opinion, is quite a bit better. I think part of it is because of the Warcraft theme, but overall, it's a much more enjoyable experience. So I hate to be the broken record here, but I'm back in Blizzard games. In fact, I've already been having like tons of discussions with people, including an unpopular opinion that in Warcraft Rumble, I think that they would not have a single problem putting in StarCraft skins into that. I think it actually wouldn't hurt it. So like if they wanted to put a bunch of minis of StarCraft characters and minions, I don't think it would hurt it, in all honesty, because honestly, they could easily justify it like they did Heroes of the Storm, and it would work out. But as far...
Yeah, I would agree with that.
As far as watching, so here's the thing, is around this time of year, as Alex knows very, very well, I have some traditions that I tend to do watching yearly, because I love watching them over and over. And because of how busy work has been, I actually decided, you know what? I have seen these things so many times. Let me just put on the audio and I'll just keep working. And so you guys can laugh at me, but I actually have been doing my job while listening to Witch Hunter Robin, which is a yearly thing, because I love this series not only for what it did, but for the fact that it was the only anime I could ever get my dad to be a fan of. That's it. Witch Hunter Robin was it.
Wow.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, well, you know this because you got me a new box set, because my box set stopped working. So at that point, I was very appreciative of that. But now that I can get it on Crunchyroll, I just listened to the episodes while I was doing my work. And the other one that I've been doing is I also like to do my yearly watch of Yu Yu Hakusho around this time. And so I started listening to that too, because like there's nothing really taken away for me. I can remember the moments. So at that point, all I need to do is hear the audio, and then I'm fine. So for all the people that want to say, you have that thing on in your van, how unprofessional. Not really. In my van, there's like a tiny shelf that you can just shove your phone in there, and you can't really see anything from it. So I'm just listening to the audio. So for all the people who are probably going to comment and say like, that's some weird form of ASMR and I don't know why you like it, but hey, I've been doing this for years. Do you guys realize how many RPGs I've played in my life? I have no problem doing this kind of audio. And that's basically what I've been doing. So if you guys want to hammer me with that's weird, now's the time to do it. Cool. Everybody appreciates it.
You do you,
the
boo.
difference between that listening to music in the car or whatever.
Yeah, and actually what's funny is because it's a 10-hour shift, so I start with music that'll get me hyped up, and then by the halfway point of my shift, then I just start putting on other things. And for me, especially around this time, it's been a lot of nostalgic content. So I've put on Witch Hunter Robin, I've put on Yu Yu Hakusho, and then the other thing I've done is I decided out of nowhere to just go back into the Dragonlance books by, oh crap, I can't remember the authors' names, but I remember reading them as kids, and my siblings read them too, where we just loved them, and so I decided to just go read them again. They're basically like Lord of the Rings, but it's entirely based in like 2nd edition D&D, so it's actually really fun and a really engaging story for people. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into the news of the month. And frankly, I hate to say this to some people, because some people now kind of treat this as like I'm just being lazy. October was still kind of a slow news month. However, we did have some gems that did come out of nowhere, and so I decided to kind of focus on them because we didn't really have any updates in regards to the SAG-AFTRA strike. That came later, and we didn't have really any other updates in terms of games or anything like that. Obviously, Microsoft bought bought Activision Blizzard, so we can't really rehash that again. But I did find some other things that also we did miss in the previous months. So let's go ahead and start with one we missed. I actually wanted to fit this into the September agenda, and I could not find a way to be able to do it. But out of nowhere, Disney came out and announced that they had hired an independent gaming studio to do a remastering of the Super Nintendo Genesis Gargoyles game. And I was wondering throughout that whole month, like, why Gargoyles? Like, this is out of nowhere, and they've not really announced anything. Turns out I had to wait until October, where they officially announced that Disney Plus is going to reboot Gargoyles as a live-action series.
Why?
First of all, how? How is this a live action series when 80% of your cast is going to be CG?
So is it like,
Well, there
you
were
know,
humans and gargoyles, weren't there?
Not many. A lot of the focal characters were the gargoyles.
So
Yeah.
it kind of makes me want to ask, are we really going to call live action films live action if there's more CGI than
It's a good
actual
question,
human
isn't it?
individuals?
It really is.
Because people refer to like the live action Lion King as live action, but there is no live action in the live action Lion King.
It's not like they did like Homeward Bound and had people voice over the lions. No, they did it all CG. So can you really call it live action at that point?
I would just say like at that point, I would just call it a modern retelling of the Lion King, which probably isn't still the best word to use. So like, I would say this is just a modern version of Gargoyles.
Right. Really quick, did any of you guys watch the Gargoyles cartoon as kids?
Not really, no.
I did.
I loved it. I actually thought it was really good. And one of the things that actually did help it was around that time, that's when I actually started to get into Star Trek The Next Generation. And turns out like 80% of the cast of Gargoyles is from The Next Generation. No, I'm not kidding. Because Xanatos was played by Jonathan Frakes, who plays William Riker. Marina Sirtis plays Demona, who is Counselor Troy. They even brought in Patrick Stewart to play characters. Michael Dorn, who played Worf, he is, I can't remember the character's name, but he's like the brother of Goliath, but he gets turned on him. Like, he's basically the Knuckles of the franchise. That's the best way I know how to explain it to Alex, is that he keeps on getting fooled by the villains to fight against Goliath, and then he regrets it. But yeah, like 80% of the cast is like people who originally were on Next Generation. In fact, one of the ones that's really funny is I can never remember his name. He was the guy who played Barkley in Next Generation, who, for those who don't think you know him, yeah, you do, because you all love to laugh to this guy. Ah! Believe it or not, Gargoyles was this guy's voice acting debut. And I can never remember the guy's name, but this is actually, I think, one of the things that got him the role to play SpongeBob. The original SpongeBob.
Oh, Tom Kenny.
Is that his name? No, Dwight Schultz.
I mean, that's the voice of SpongeBob.
Dwight Schultz is the original, like the first season voice of SpongeBob. And his debut...
What? No, he's not.
Is he not? I know that he did SpongeBob.
It's always been Tom Kenny as SpongeBob.
Well, now it isn't, because like somebody was telling me he retired. And now they have a sound-alike playing him.
I don't think so.
Oh, you want to know what I'm thinking of? Okay, I get these mixed up because some of the actors are similar. It was the Cartoon Network series that he played the main character for, and that one is escaping me because I never watched it.
Okay, who's the actor?
Dwight Schultz.
Dwight
Schultz. And I can never remember the Chowder. That was his name. He was in the original cast for Chowder. And so at that point, actually his voice acting debut was in Gargoyles, where he did like a cameo in like a season 2 episode or something. So like even the extra cast of Next Generation made their way into Gargoyles. It's the funniest thing ever. But I'm at least glad that one of us has watched Gargoyles, because then at that point I'm not alone. I can actually talk about how this is.
I mean, that's why I had asked initially, like, why? Because I felt that Gargoyles was a very, very niche.
Yeah, it was a very 90s
group
series.
Of individuals.
Like, I don't even know if you could make the
niche.
premise for Gargoyles work now, could you? Well, I mean, you could make the premise work, like we brought over a Scottish tower and these gargoyles come to life at night. I have no problem with that, but all of the other stuff of Gargoyles, I don't know if you could. Just because some of the plots were so 90s.
I mean, that's why I want to coin the phrase modern retelling, because this may not be like a parallel one-for-one exact retelling of the 90s series. This could very much be a 2020s take on Gargoyles.
Okay, so
I mean, I don't know how successful it will be, but it's worth a try.
So this is where I got mixed up. Now that I'm looking at the cast, it was not Dwight Schultz. It was Bill Fagerbakke, because Bill Fagerbakke did a cameo spot on Next Generation, and he plays Broadway in Gargoyles. But he is the original Patrick Star.
Yes.
These are just well, I'm looking at the cast right now too, and I have a hard time believing that these are people's like actual legal names.
Right. Well, the funny thing is that Keith David, so he did Goliath, and then literally a year later, one of the series that he is most well known for, he had actually done, which is the HBO Spawn series. And everybody loves him as Spawn in that series, so much so that that's why they brought Keith David to voice Spawn in MK11. Because if they were going to bring Spawn into it, they needed to have Keith David's voice. But then you have a bunch. Oh, holy shit! I didn't even know Tom Wilson was in Gargoyles. Holy crap!
Oh,
yeah. This cast is very impressive.
It's very impressive, but unfortunately, a lot of it's gone now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because Ed Asner, he's gone.
I mean, I was looking at this cast and I was like, wow, my feeble mind in the 90s. But of course, by the time this series ended, I was 6 years old.
Right. Oh, and here's another SpongeBob connection, Alex. Clancy Brown. Because Mr. Krabs, he's Mr. Krabs, right? So he was Hakon in Gargoyles. Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna do this, Disney. I'm happy that it's getting that consideration, and now the Super Nintendo remaster makes sense. But good lord, I smacked my mic. That's how dumbfounded I am. I don't know how this is gonna work for you, especially since we just barely heard a recent report or earnings report from Disney where they have said that they're going to be cutting back budget for a lot of Disney Plus series because of the fact that a lot of the series have failed in light of that. And actually, one of the ways that they're cutting is through the animation department. So that's going to be interesting, especially now that I think the VFX people have voted to unionize. That's not going to go over well, but all right.
Well, I mean, just based on, some of the special effects lately have been looking pretty gross.
Yes.
To Disney standards. Yeah, at the same time, what's not being shared until like whistleblowers actually say something and then it hits the media is that much like most special effects artists or animators, they are overworked and they're having to meet very, very, very stringent deadlines. And it starts to become a matter of quantity over
Right.
quality, which is why you get instances like in the fourth Thor movie where the theatrical release had, from what I was told, very shitty special effects, and they fixed it all before they put it on Disney Plus.
Right. And part of the reason that the CG sucked so badly was because they were running all the VFX people ragged. So at that point, like, you weren't getting the A effort because they were all almost dead.
No, of course not. And then based on the fact that that there's been a strike,
mhm.
they probably weren't being paid very well either. So it's like, why do I even continue doing what
Well,
I'm
and on
doing
top of
at
that, now
point?
they're going to have, so we'll be talking about this next month, but like I said, like, Disney has announced that they're going to be making some cuts, especially to the animation department. And I have a feeling that some of these negotiations that people wanted for these strikes, they're going to hurt the VFX workers, because now like, Disney's going to have to adhere to these new agreements. And usually what that means is that budget cuts are going to happen somewhere down the line. And I'm hearing already about, like, not being able to, now that the VFX workers are voting to unionize, maybe they'd have to go a different route to be able to get their VFX work done, or not do VFX work, which might actually be the better way to go. And then also the other thing is the Animators Guild is not going to like some of the budget cuts that they're doing. So
It's never a win-win situation.
no, strikes are never win-win, because somebody has to suffer at the end of it, because they have to realign the budgets to make everybody happy. But here's the thing also I want to point out. So not only is Gargoyles going to get rebooted, but the writer that they have for it is well known as being the co-writer of It. So the It reboot. Not only that, but he is also, I think he was the lead writer on a movie called The Nun, which I guess is it's a movie that didn't do that well. It was from James Wan, but what I'm basically saying is they're basically bringing somebody in because he's done horror and that's pretty much it, to do the writing for Gargoyles. So is it safe to say, if this guy's the lead writer, are we going to be looking at a more horror themed Gargoyles?
I doubt Disney's got the balls for that.
I would say there may be like a darker twist, like a more darker twist to Gargoyles.
Maybe a more gothic setting.
With like horror elements, but straight horror, probably not.
Mm-hmm. I actually would not like that, because one of the things I liked about Gargoyles was the fact that it's still, even though it had the fantasy elements, it still tried to maintain a, kind of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vibe, where it is still modern day New York. And so at that point, you just have gargoyles at night who are trying to adjust to their new surroundings. And so if you added horror elements to it, I think that would make it suffer, honestly, because now it's going to be more about jump scares and not necessarily how Brooklyn can learn more about New York City while not getting spotted, kind of thing. So
yeah, and they also need to like remember who the audience is, because those who watch the Gargoyles are going to be people who are older than me, and maybe a few people in my age group.
Yes.
Because again, it's a very niche community of individuals who actually watched this program. So,
which, given the past, the nostalgia demographic has not necessarily been something that Disney has catered to well in the past.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how many people truly in mine or even your own age group, Adam, who actually cares for pure horror. Because I know I don't.
Right. I mean, I know a few people who do like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that, but they don't, when it comes to brand new horror, they have actually been more disappointed than happy, because like they went and saw movies like Jeepers Creepers and saw that wasn't really going to do it. I know a few people who are just absolutely pissed off at the two new Predator movies because it just isn't the same. So at that point, if you're going to go down that direction, I don't know if they're going to want that, especially since Gargoyles was never about that. I mean, there are
So,
horror moments, but they're usually in the same sense as like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to watch a trailer once one is obvious, once there's enough
Right, right.
filming and CGI that can warrant creating a trailer. Um, However, at this very moment, I'm not 100% sure a modern retelling, because I refuse to call it a live action.
No, it's not live
Um,
action.
I don't see a need or a reason why a modern retelling of
Hmm.
Gargoyles is something that is needed at this time. I'm very interested in wanting to look over any sort of research that was done into determining, yeah, this is how we want to spend our money.
Hmm.
Um, so more than happy to revisit this after a trailer. Otherwise, at the end of the conversation, my number one question is why?
Right. And that you're not the only one that's asking it. Like I brought this up to a few friends of mine that did watch Gargoyles, and they kind of had the same reaction. Like, why? And already, like, the first thing they brought up to me is like, okay, well, given the recent reimaginings that we've gotten in the past few years, already they could see controversies with both Goliath and Demona, because Goliath, like, if Keith David isn't playing him, he's got an incredibly deep voice. Finding somebody that can do something akin to Keith David while trying to keep the budget light is gonna be hard to do. Because deep sultry voices like that. Sultry is probably not the word I'm looking for, but deep voices like that are not easy to come by. Like Keith David can get roles that basically James Earl Jones could have gotten years beforehand. And with Demona, I mean, Demona is basically a femme fatale character, and the last couple of femme fatale characters that have come out have not been femme fatale characters. They've in fact been rewritten to be something else. And one of the examples that I would totally give is Faye from the Netflix Cowboy Bebop. From what I've been told, because I still refuse to watch the thing, they basically reworked her as not necessarily a femme fatale, but more of a somebody that openly participates in a lot of the schlock humor that exists in that series. So at that point, she went from being a femme fatale character to being something of a mockery, and you can't do that with Demona. Demona is actually one of the, like, when I see top 10 femme fatales, Demona makes a lot of lists. And part
Yeah,
of that is
I
because Marina Sirtis played her, and I don't see Marina Sirtis coming back to play her.
I mean, you never know.
I
You never
I think
know.
she's retired. I might be wrong about that. I do know that she moved back to
Oh,
Australia, but
oh, good for
she
her.
might be retired. Because I remember seeing her name amidst a lot of actors and actresses that around COVID just said, nope, I'm not doing anything. So she might, in fact, um, crap, what's his name? The original Michael Keaton was in that list too, because he really didn't want to do things because of COVID. But he eventually buckled to do the Flash. So maybe Marina would do it too. I'm not sure.
We'll have to wait and see
But I
then.
agree with you. I think a trailer is very much needed before any kind of hype can be generated for it.
Yeah, because again, I enjoyed
Hmm.
Gargoyles. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, boo, I don't want a modern retelling. Um,
If anything, this
here
announcement
my
makes me want to just go back and watch Gargoyles.
Well, right, exactly. I'm kind of like right there with you. I'm like, I haven't watched that since the late 90s, early
Hmm.
2000s. That sounds like something fun to watch when I'm not clawing my eyes out
Hmm.
from writing research
Right.
papers. Um, you know, like it like I think you completely hit the nail on the head here
Hmm.
with that statement, Adam. Um, I just So, my curiosity is what's peaked
Right.
here with with this announcement. Not necessarily, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Just more, why?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give the final thoughts over to Alex. I mean, you're not a Gargoyles fan, but after all the discussion that we've been having, like, what's your take on it? Would you at least watch a trailer of it, or are you just like, nah, I'm not interested?
Maybe I'll watch a trailer. No promises. I never got into gargoyles as a kid, so I don't know what would draw me in
Go
now.
listen to Bill Foggerbucky. He'll make you want to go watch Patrick again. That's what'll happen out of this. He'll watch 10 episodes of Gargoyles. He'll be like, I really want to watch SpongeBob again. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get into the next story that we have, which is also Disney related, but more in their game division. I still think this is not officially in their game division, but it definitely is related to them. For those who don't know, Disney Dreamlight Valley exists and actually is getting ready to exit early access and will officially launch on December 5th. For those who don't know what it is, Disney Dreamlight Valley is basically Disney's answer to Animal Crossing, The Sims, and that's all it aims to be. In fact, I think for a while there, it was dedicated mobile, and now it's able to be played on PC, but I might be wrong about that.
You are not wrong.
So yeah, I believe its dedication is mobile. So they announced with this, but the interesting part is, so when it was in early access, it was being messed around as, guess what, a free-to-play game. And we all know how much gamers love free-to-play. So at that point, they have instead decided, after evaluating the information that they got from early access, they've decided that no, instead of going free-to-play, they are going to set a base price for Disney Dreamlight Valley, and that's going to be $30. And with it, you'll be able to get things like moonstones, in-game currencies, and you will still need you'll need the base game as well as any other attachments, etc. And obviously, you're not going to be able to keep everything; it's going to get reset when it gets launched. But the interesting part about this, at least for some Disney fans, is the fact that they decided to go away from free to play. And some have speculated, although I don't know if I entirely agree. This is why I kind of snarkily put it in the headline here. Supposedly, the reason that they decided that is because, well, Disney ain't doing so hot. And so at that point, they can't necessarily gamble on free to play. Instead, they really need that guarantee of like a base price.
I don't see a correlation there, but
that's kind of my problem too. Is like, I know Disney's not doing so well, but we're talking different divisions, so I'm pretty sure they're not communicating. So at that point, I don't
very likely.
Yeah. I don't think that that's playing into it, but I think what's ultimately happening is they noticed a lot of the free to play features, like a lot of game companies are now, is a lot of people aren't necessarily buying into them. They instead go towards the in-game currencies instead of buying the currency in game with real money. And so maybe what's happening here is the Dreamlight Valley developers are just saying, yeah, we can't really make this work in the free to play model, but with a base price, we can make it work a little bit better. Now, they also have announced that there will be founders packs that will come out on, or in some cases, some of them will give early access on December 4th. And those will up the price, obviously. So the base edition is going to be $29.99, but you can have other versions that go all the way up to $69.99, which again will give you a bunch of in-game currency. They'll give you moonstones, a cozy cottage skin for your house. They'll give you companion skins, all that stuff, all of the usual stuff that you would see with free-to-play stuff, but they're just going to offer it in this bigger package, for lack of a better. I'm literally running out of words here. It's almost like it's been a busy week. So that being said, like, there is a lot of speculation thinking that, Disney needs the money. I also wonder if it could be that the developer needs the money. I kind of wonder. I need to look up who does this game, because it's not Disney Interactive. I can tell you that much. Let's see. Who is the Disney Dreamlight Valley developer? Because if it says Disney Interactive, that's bullshit. The developer is Gameloft. So what is Gameloft known for? Let's do this live, shall we?
Gameloft. Let's see.
Number
French video
one
game
mobile
developer.
video game developer.
So yeah, mostly known for mobile stuff.
Yes, and I'm trying to look up their library of stuff that they have worked on.
Too many.
Oh
too many
yeah,
to
they
name.
do lots of shovelware. It looks like they basically pound out mobile games a lot of the time. Ooh, that's not a good sign. That makes me wonder. Like, from what I've been told in early access, Dreamlight Valley didn't really have any major issues, but that's a lot of games to pump out in a year. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's concerning.
Yeah, I mean, holy crap. Yeah, they have a lot of mobile games. And what's even worse is it looks like they have a lot of established properties as well. So I'm pretty sure that Gameloft, if I'm going to guess, doesn't really have a good reputation in the gaming industry. Yeah, they've done things like Assassin's Creed mobile games. They've done Brothers in Arms mobile games. They've done CSI mobile games. Holy shit. They've done a bunch of Disney stuff, as well as Dungeon Hunter and the Driver series. That's Ubisoft right there. Fast and the Furious, they have a mobile app for Fast and the Furious.
That's a very diverse list of franchises to do mobile
Yes,
games
and the
on.
list just keeps going on, and it's a lot of established properties. So something tells me that they do have a lot of rapport with a lot of the corporate reps, but from what I'm also telling in terms of reception for them, they've been middle to low a lot of the time. So I have a feeling that maybe that's why they're going for the base launch instead, is because they don't see a whole lot of effort going into the free to play angle, and also maybe oh, and it gets even better. So now we know why they worked on Disney Dreamlight Valley. They're owned by Disney. So that's why.
They're owned by Disney.
They are owned by Disney. So they literally ran themselves into the ground doing all of this stuff. Whew, boy. So yeah, let's get into the speculation here. So do we think that that's accurate, that it's just that Gameloft is not doing well, or do we think that there's validity to the fact that Disney itself isn't doing well, and that's why they had to go this direction?
I think Disney just wants money, and they just want to maximize the profit potential that they're going to get for it.
Which would make sense with a lot of the recent stuff we've been hearing. Like, they want guarantees. They don't want to just throw things out Vegas style. So at that point, and also apparently, this is one of the things that was confusing me earlier. They actually do have details coming up on an They had the first ever paid expansion. That's actually what's going to cost $29.99. The base version of the game is $39.99. And then if you want all the extra stuff, it goes up to $70. Wow. I'm just trying to think, like, do Sims owners actually do that stuff? Everybody I've ever known, including one of our buddies, like, I think they just went with the base edition of The Sims, didn't they?
I don't know.
Gee, okay. I mean, I can get why people would want this, because they would want, like, the love for Disney is definitely there. Like, we can't deny that. And so people would love to be able to customize themselves inside of a Disney-based world. But paying this amount of money, and it also looks like there will still be an in-game market that you'll be able to buy exclusive furniture and other things for your customization. So Double or Nothing, those things will be like $5.99 a piece. Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. I mean, unless Brinton has a different point of view, I think this is just get as much cash as you possibly can from it.
So I've played a little bit of Dreamlight Valley in its early access because I liked the idea of a Animal Crossing, like a Disney-like Animal
Sure.
Crossing. And I mean, like it was fun. I'm not gonna say that I didn't enjoy
Mhm.
myself because it's everything that like it's a bit more like 360 3D than what Animal Crossing
Mhm.
is, and customization um and aesthetics and putting things down in the world are a lot more friendly than Animal Crossing is, which is totally fine. That's like what people need, and I get that.
Mhm.
But it didn't like hold my interest for too long.
Mhm.
Um, and just hearing everything that you and Alex are um, bouncing back and forth based on information that you're finding that you're looking at right now. Um, I mean it doesn't sound really like super appealing to
No,
me.
I think Andrea also looked into it as well because it got announced like right alongside um Missing Link, which is the Kingdom Hearts mobile game. And she's, in case people don't know this, she is diehard Kingdom Hearts. So at that point she looked at this, but I think after watching some gameplay she just wasn't interested. Like it just didn't have what she wanted out of it. And I do know for a fact that sim type games aren't necessarily Andrea's forte. So that might be why she probably lost interest. But
Right.
yeah, I guess my question is if they do this and it's like, do we see the servers for this lasting very long? Because I have no problem saying this. I'm kind of getting Disney Infinity vibes where there might be a good idea here, but Disney doesn't really care. And so at that point, that might hurt it. Because I think that hurt Infinity is like the interest from Disney kind of wasn't there, and all they really wanted was just for figures to sell, not necessarily the game itself.
Well, um, well, if that's the case, then yeah, I don't really see Dreamlight Valley lasting
No.
um lasting super long, which is going to be a huge shame
Mm.
because that's a lot of like time and money put into development, and that could cost people jobs at the end of the day.
We
So
might, Alex,
um
we might need to talk to BB about this. I wonder if she actually is interested in this game or has done anything with it. Because this would be like
Yeah.
right up her alley. She just barely got introduced to Animal Crossing. And I'm agreeing with what you're saying, Brenton, but I do know also that a lot of people wish that there was a lot of different types of Animal Crossing type games because they couldn't really get into Animal Crossing. And I've seen a lot of
yeah.
people migrate over to The Sims because it's similar in terms. So,
Yeah, and that's totally
mm,
fine. If it like if Dreamlight Valley completely blows it out of the water and is super successful, great. I love that. If it's not, then just another game for the
right.
books.
So, I mean, at that point, let's get into final thoughts here. I do think that Disney's trying to do a cash grab. I guarantee. I believe I'm right there with you guys on this because it does look like a lot of cash grab esque announcements with going to base price instead of free to play. I just don't know if Dreamlight Valley is gonna last that long to be able to get any kind of lasting profit from it. Final thoughts on this one, Brinton, since you've actually played the game.
Mm, Um, um, sorry, I lost my train of thought, and then I was just being dramatic. I don't really think I would. I don't think I'm interested in playing it once it's out of early access and officially released based on the information that you've all provided me. But additionally, at the same time, there's just a fair amount of other games that that I want to put my time into.
Mhm.
And Dreamlight Valley is just not one of them.
Right.
So
Alex, any final thoughts on this?
Nothing more from me. I'm kind of with Brenton. I don't really have much interest in playing.
Okay. So then at that point, let's go ahead and get into the next story that we have, which I think will spark a little interest from Brenton as well as from Alex because, well, his sister is just such a completionist. It turns out that a player in Final Fantasy XIV has become the first, after more than a decade, to unlock all 2,751 achievements.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about this. I was very impressed.
Good lord, that's a lot of achievements.
I mean, there's some achievements in there that are like if you didn't do certain pieces of content when it was current, to be able to get that achievement now is very, very difficult. So the fact that they were able to get every single one in the game is an impressive feat. Because like, do you know of anybody who has obtained every single WoW achievement?
I was actually
since
looking that up right now, and as of Shadowlands, the total is staggering. It's 4,481. That's as of Shadowlands. That's not including Dragonflight. I'm pretty sure it pushes 5,000 now.
I mean, that's a lot of achievements,
Yeah.
and that has to be like on a singular account that somebody has had since like vanilla WoW.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and also just looking
into
the details here. So to unlock all of these achievements, there's guarantees on a few things. He had to have finished all the side quests, which probably could have been done on one character. He had to obtain all the collectibles, which also could have been done on a single character. But then you get through the tasks of like ultimate raids, engaging in PvP with several different classes. I'm guaranteeing you he has multiple characters so that he could hit these easier.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like I said, a lot of this, like, if that content, a lot of the content, if not done when it was current, especially those ultimate raids, which are already a feat within itself just to complete.
Right, yeah.
Because because a lot of things in Final Fantasy XIV, like you can do without level syncing. So there's times just for funsies, if you want to do like a transmog run, you can totally go to older dungeons and just completely run them by yourselves at max level because you just one shot everything. But for these ultimate raids, depending on what the max level was at the time that they were released, you're forced to do it at that level, and there are very specific conditions to be able to unlock ultimate raids. So again, like, this is somebody who is very skilled, knows what they're doing, very confident with a multitude, if not every single job in Final Fantasy XIV, and just knows how to play that game inside and out. Just very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking at some of the details of being able to get some of these achievements. It's insane. This guy literally, like the article here says that it would have required hundreds of hours. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think it actually might have been in the thousands that this guy had to dedicate.
Oh, for sure.
To be able to get this stuff going.
Especially if he's doing some of the content from like when A Realm Reborn was current.
Exactly,
content.
yeah. Because the thing that they're also pointing out is like the 2,700 is only going up to Endwalker, because Dawn Trail we know some details, we don't know all of them yet. So obviously,
correct,
the achievement count is going to go up with Dawn Trail, and it sounds to me like this guy is just basically resting up until then, and then he'll just go complete those, because now he doesn't have to worry about the other 2,000 that he's already done.
Yeah, because the achievements that will be added in Dawn Trail is just getting all the jobs to the new max level, which will be 100, which in reality isn't that difficult. Like it really isn't that difficult. It's just a matter of learning how to play every single job. And there's just some jobs for me that I'm not interested in learning
Right.
or playing.
Well, and
Otherwise, yeah,
every player is going to
I
have
could
one or
do
two
it.
classes that they just aren't interested in.
Exactly. And then there's going to be some achievements for like exploring a dungeon for the first time, which literally you just have to run the dungeon and you automatically get the achievement when you get to the final boss.
Yeah.
So for this person to get all the achievements again, it's going to be very, very easy now that they have everything. So it's just staying current with with a new expansion every subsequent patch following the expansion
It makes me
release.
wonder. So the article that we're reading off of from IGN kind of made it sound like it was all a solo effort. I kind of wonder about that because some of the stuff, like you're talking about the ultimate raids and stuff like that, he had to have gotten help from certain people. I've seen this happen, like when there's the race to first level 80 or something like that, where a bunch of people will just come out and help the dude kill mobs so that they can hit that record of hitting the cap level as quickly as possible. And something tells me that the same thing happened here. Like his guild went out of their way to be able to help him to get all of the achievements and are now basically living under the clout that is given him. But let me ask this simple question of Alex. So you hear this guy has completed over 2,700 achievements. Uh, how hard do you think it would be to convince Andrea to do that?
I don't know.
I mean,
I could see Andrea being crazy enough to do
I
this.
could see her having the challenge accepted face when it gets brought up, but I think kind of like with WoW, once she gets like 100 achievements and then she's like, I'm just gonna play the way I want to, and which is totally
Hey,
fine.
if she approached and said, I want to get every single achievement in Final Fantasy 14, I will put on my big boy panties and I will step up my game to like become a good enough player to do ultimate raids, because I can tell you right now, like I'm good. I'm good at Final Fantasy 14, but I am not good enough to do ultimate raiding.
No, because it sounds to me like ultimate rating is basically the equivalent of mythic rating in WoW. So at that point, you need to be the creme de la creme of the player base.
Yeah, like I can do heroic rating in WoW. I cannot do like mythic rating is a skill level that I do not possess, nor do I have the time
Right.
to build my skill
Well, and
level.
that's the funny thing is like the current player base in WoW, and I'm probably guaranteeing that a majority of the player base in 14 as well. Like that's as high as they go. Like the equivalent of heroic rating, and after that, when it becomes like the hardcore of the hardcore, that's where they end.
Well, because I know that you and I have talked extensively about me getting back into World of Warcraft, which I am very like. I don't know why Dragonflight didn't do it for me because I love dragons, but for some reason the War Within was what did it for me. Um, but regardless of that, like just knowing like the people that you play with and what you've described to me, I want to be able to like approach them and say, hey, like I've been able to tank up to the equivalent of like heroic level rating, um, like tanking, DPS, healing, the whole kit and caboodle. This is what my skill level is. This is what I can bring to the
Right.
guild. Um, I could probably do like in terms of, and then like a mythic equivalent. I don't think there is one to Final Fantasy 14, but I know that I could do like mythic plus. But if somebody were to ask me to do anything mythic rating, my answer would be
Well, and
no.
the difference there is like where the guild that I'm in WoW used to have a hardcore focus, now has moved towards a much more casual focus. So they could do because that's kind of the goal of their rating team anyway, is that they only go to heroic. Like we don't even try to my knowledge, if I'm wrong, then they can correct me, but they don't even try to organize mythic because like they just don't have the desire to go that hardcore into it. And when they go into heroic rating, the main purpose of that is to get as many people in the guild the what they call the ahead of the curve achievements as they possibly can, which is basically like if you get this this raid done by this point, you get this really cool mount, which is usually their reward, and that's all they ever do it for. So once they get done with doing ahead of the curve for people, then people take breaks. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
exactly
No,
what I think most of the player base does now.
I had a lot of those achievements on my old account during Battle for Azeroth current content. I actually had a lot of really awesome stuff on my old account that I just have no more access to. So when I say I'm starting fresh with WoW, I really mean I'm starting fresh with
Yeah,
WoW,
no,
as if
literally.
I've never played the game. Yeah, it really sucks. There's a couple of very rare mounts I got from the Battle for Azeroth era that I was very proud of. Like even stuff that my ex-husband never, ever, ever, ever once had drop for him. And I mean, he was the hardcore between the two of us.
Yeah.
So knowing knowing that I will not be returning to any of that kills me, but it's just what can you do, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I still have like, because I remember doing the first ever ahead of the curve, which was Siege of Orgrimmar, and so I have the wolf mount that came from that. But then there was a bunch, and I think I even have one of the warlords ones too. But there were definitely some mounts in like Legion and Battle for Azeroth that I never got that were ahead of the curve. And even I'm looking at like War Within and saying, you know, I might actually like try to get an alt going so that when they start doing those runs, I can just hop in as a DPS and be able to get them. And we are horribly
Yeah.
confusing Alex right now.
Oh yeah, because we kind of
I'm just
not.
sure I have tuned out.
So
No, you're fine. We kind of derailed there for a second. So going back to Final
here's
Fantasy
the
14.
question that I have for both of you right now, though. Okay, so 2,751 achievements in this game. Like, listening to this, does this make you go look at the game you're working on right now and go, huh, this only has like 200 achievements. Maybe I'll go get that done. Does that like motivate you at all to do that? Because to me, I just look at that number and go, that's way too much.
That's way too much.
Yeah,
for me too.
like that's dedication.
Well, what comes to mind for me is like, did you just did you, this person, to get all these achievements, just decide not to have a life outside of your computer
I
game?
guess so. Yeah.
Because I'm not here to shame anybody. However, even I, like a socially anxious, introverted individual, can even recognize and say, I need to go outside.
Yeah. No. Now that you've said it that way, I need to go find the quote from Make Love Not Warcraft from South Park. Gentlemen, we are dealing with someone who has absolutely no life. But how do you kill that which has no life? Just because that's immediately what I thought about. It's like you would have to be that guy in Make Love Not Warcraft. You have absolutely no life, and that's why you are as overpowered as you are.
From that, I personally
though,
like, you could stay inside doing what really matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually so I do know that it's a Japanese user, but I don't think they put the actual name. It's a Japanese user in the Garuda server. So at that point,
of course it's a Japanese user.
Something tells me absolutely closet otaku. Like that, it has to. I can't remember what the term is, but like completely closet, like actually just never leaves the house otaku.
Yeah, the term
shut in.
Hikikomori, there we go.
Yeah, shut in.
Yeah, he has to definitely be that. But I mean, good on him. Like this is something he set a goal for, and he did it. So it's hard for me to be that mad at him for doing it.
I mean, again, I'm not shaming her.
No, yeah,
it's like that. Like,
some people might look at this and go, "That's disappointing,"
impressed.
but to me, it's just like, well, he's the guy who set the goal, and if he accomplished it, then good on him.
Yeah, because there's a lot of games where I have gotten every single
Right.
achievement. Like on my old PlayStation account before I lost access to that, I had a lot of I had a lot of platinum trophies that I was super
Dude,
proud of.
there's a big move. I
Um,
don't know if you know this. There's a huge movement for people demanding that Nintendo start incorporating achievements into games. And
I would
Nintendo
love
isn't
that.
really interested in that. I've seen some of the devs there basically say like we don't understand why people like it that much, because I guess to some people in Japan achievements aren't necessarily like they're pixelated. So why go and achieve them? But there's a strong movement that actually was, I remember, pushing for Tears of the Kingdom to have an achievement list that you could go and do, and even a like a meta achievement that you could then get that people could see. And it makes me actually wonder if maybe in the future we see Nintendo kind of join that bandwagon and we could have Mario games with achievements.
I was gonna say like when it comes to Nintendo games, I think it should be very specific to the game.
Yes,
So like for example, I don't think it would work well with a Pokemon game,
which is
but
funny because
for like
everybody wants a Pokemon game with achievement.
yeah, I don't see it working for a Pokemon
Hmm.
game, but for like Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Bros. Wonder,
Hmm.
I think those are games where achievements would work.
Right.
Um, but like Pokemon, Animal Crossing, um, some, not all Kirby games, I don't think it would work for those. I would even say the Super Mario RPG remake would be a perfect candidate for achievements just because of its RPG nature. Um, and just there's so much potential with that. Otherwise, otherwise I don't otherwise I think the way Nintendo's handling it is just fine as it is.
Right. And here's the thing too is I will say this. If Nintendo is even remotely going to consider doing this, they definitely need to do their homework with it, because I could totally see them jumping into the system and not really doing it right because they don't know, and the Japanese market doesn't really want them. So I mean, if I'm wrong, Japan can tell me, but North America and Europe are the ones that really love the achievement hunting and all that stuff. So Nintendo would need to learn from them, and that's where I kind of wonder if they just wouldn't invest in it. Um, so at that point, I don't see it, but holy crap! So I'm gonna give major props to this guy. I mean, you did it. Obviously, this was a goal. You did it. Congratulations, and now move on to the next goal. Well, the first thing that I would probably recommend, and people are gonna take umbrage with this, but that's fine. Go take a shower, because I'm pretty sure with the amount of time you invested, you had to sacrifice that, and I think it might be a good idea for you to take a shower.
And then go outside.
Yes. I mean, I hate to go down the Twitter road, but yeah, you need to go touch grass, man.
Touch grass. I was gonna
Go
say
touch
that.
grass, man.
Oh my gosh.
Go to a
Like,
Come
park.
back in.
and then you can come back inside and play your video
Your
games, you
video
know?
games,
Like,
yes. All right,
oh
so
man.
moving into.
But yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, but yeah, like kudos to him. Good job. He's seen content in 14 that I have never seen. So
Yeah, it would be
kudos
interesting
to
to see
him.
what to have an interview with him and see the things, and get his experience of the things he's seen.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
unfortunately, now with all of these gems, we get to the one that you listeners wanted us to talk about, and I'm guessing because it's going to affect your wallets. But aside from that, I don't know why you wanted to talk about it, and thus I'm looking at you all with very weird eyes. So yes, in case people have not been able to follow this, in October as well as in there's going to be more in November, there is going to be a bunch of streaming service price hikes. This affects all of us because we all have at least one streaming service that we all go to. And for some, it's gonna hurt, from what I'm actually able to tell. But let's go through these one by one. So Discovery Plus, it's actually going to be going. It was originally going to be $6.99, but now they're going to be bumping it up to $8.99 because they're going to be adding an ad light tier, which is going to incorporate ads, but not that much of them. And thankfully, the ad light tier will actually be $4.99 in the US. Unfortunately, for Canadian users, it's going to be $5.99. So, yeah, it's great to be Canadian, isn't it? Because you're usually the ones getting the increases, not us.
Right.
So, and those prices actually went into effect October 3rd. So if you're a Discovery Plus fan, you need to keep those in mind. With Disney Plus, it was the basic rate of $7.99 a month, and they're going to be going up to $10.99 a month and that's the Disney Plus premium plan, which is basically the one that doesn't have ads. They are going to have an ad tier, which is, I believe it's just going to be free. Like you get to watch it, but you have to deal with ads, and there's nothing you can do about it. So at that point, you get access to it. Let's see, and then also, oh yeah, and unfortunately, actually, it's not $10.99. It's going to be going up to $13.99, so that they can then do the ad tier at a lower price, which it looks like that's basically going to be the $7.99 that's going to be going through. So Disney Plus fans, keep that in mind. Hulu, if you want the ad-free tier for Hulu, because, Disney owned, it was originally available at $14.99 a month. As of October 12th, it will now be $17.99 a month. If you want to do the ad-supported tier, it's going to be $7.99 alongside Disney Plus, but you can also bundle them together to basically get a $20 a month both platform discount there. Not necessarily a bad deal, but you have to consider that. Like, are you going to use both of those platforms? Like, for me, that's not hard to do because we both use, like, me and my wife both use Disney Plus as well as Hulu. Although, strangely enough, my kids aren't using Disney Plus anymore. So I might have to drop it for a while. Just saying. And the one that a lot of people already expected and actually was heard about earlier this year, Netflix is going to be increasing. However, they haven't officially decided on the price hike amount yet because they were working on that when the strikes got declared. So we'll be getting that very soon, but they are also going to be adding an ad plan. So you can go in and you can watch with ads, or you can pay for the higher tier, which will give you no ads. So I guess the first question I have to you guys is, how do you guys feel that a bunch of these streaming platforms, including other ones that aren't being mentioned here, because I've also heard of Crunchyroll considering this too, adding a tier that basically comes with ads, but still lets you enjoy the content, but you can also take away the ads if you pay into a higher tier?
Isn't this why we all got rid of our cable in the first place? So we wouldn't have to put up with ridiculous prices and ads.
Well, I don't know about
It all
you.
comes
I
full
couldn't get
circle.
rid of my cable because my cable was so
That's true.
interlaid into those services that if I got rid of it, then I wouldn't be able to get the streaming services running. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing that's very frustrating in this is if people want to pull the plug, they do have to have that other means to be able to watch the streaming services, and now they're so incorporated into Comcast and the other platforms, it's difficult to be able to even do it. So congratulations, cable TV won in the end.
Yep.
Oh my lord.
How do you feel about this, Brenton? Now you have tiers where you get ads, but it's cheaper. Or are you even remotely considering paying the higher tier so that you don't have to deal with the ads?
If anything, if anything, and I mean, my husband and I have talked about this at length, it's more of a consideration of, okay, is there content on this streaming platform that warrants how much I'm spending?
Right.
Because if not, then why should I continue spending this money?
Mhm.
And Netflix happens to be one of the perpetrators of this particular conversation
Right.
because they continue to increase their prices and they continue to cancel shows after one season.
Well, not only that, but they're also primarily because a lot of these other services are basically taking their content back. Netflix is suffering from that because also they're not trying to negotiate to be able to keep things like Friends on the platform, instead letting it go over back to Peacock. And that's the thing. One of the reasons Netflix was so successful for a long time is they had everybody else's content. And so at that point, now they need to consider, okay, can we substitute this with our own content, or are we basically going to go under because we still have to maintain this contract model? And it's a difficult thing.
I'm more than confident that they can like do well with their own content. It would just also super help if they didn't cancel if they didn't greenlight everything that gets pushed in front of them and then cancel it after one or two seasons. And then say stupid shit like, "Oh, we never cancel bad programming." Like, are you sure
they did say that, yeah.
Because
you don't cancel bad programming. I think Cowboy Bebop fans would disagree with that.
I would think that every single person who watched the OA, which is a hill that I'm still currently roasting on, would also agree that like, oh my gosh, I am now on this soapbox. It was like they signed a contract for 5 seasons. 5 seasons of the freaking OA, and they canceled it after 2. Like, I'm roasting on this hill because I refuse to get
actually
off
one
it,
of those cases,
and I will die.
Yeah, that's one of those cases where Netflix just spread themselves too thin, isn't it? Where they just had too many things going up, and so when they had these 5-season deals, they just looked at it and went, "Oh wait, we can't afford this now." Oops.
Then they should have canceled freaking Stranger Things.
But Stranger Things is bringing people in. Actually,
and so was the OA.
The irony is not lost on me.
I'm roasting on this hill. I will be burnt to a crisp.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The irony is not lost on me, because that's kind of the problem. But then I also see them making mistakes where, I can't necessarily call the One Piece adaptation a failure, because it actually has done really well for them. Enough so that
it actually has. To be completely honest, I'm quite surprised because I thought it was not going to do well.
Hey, but you're not the only one. My brother, who is not even remotely interested in anime at this point, he hasn't been since Inuyasha. He got his friend got him to watch One Piece, and he actually is interested now. He's not interested in watching the manga or the 1,000+ episodes, but he is at least interested in what a season 2 of One Piece would happen. And this actually brings up another funny irony with this, is that people love it when I bring this up, but I am going to. Castlevania Nocturne has a mixed reception at best. That immediately gets a green light season 2, and to my knowledge, One Piece still hasn't gotten that green light, has it?
No, they've got a green light for season 2.
Because to my knowledge, the Castlevania one happened right off the bat, and there was a delayed response with One Piece. So I'm like, wait, the definite success is an immediately green light, but the one that has the mixed reception got the immediate green light? What?
And you bring up a really good point there, Adam. Yeah. Like, just their standard of quality, or like how they understand, or what their rating scale of like success or quality is so vastly different than the rest of all the major studios.
Yeah, because I have no problem saying this, that, again, I have not seen Castlevania Nocturne, and yes, I have an opinion, because I watched the trailer, people, and the trailer didn't sell me, and that's the purpose of a trailer, is that it's supposed to sell me on the content. It didn't do it. But it is very interesting to me that you have this mixed reception, and now the one thing that actually goes into doubt is all of the other ventures that Adi Shankar has in development with Netflix, including Devil May Cry and Tomb Raider, both of which now you have people looking at those going, wait, the development of the later seasons of Castlevania and Nocturne wasn't all that great. and they're only able to put out 4-second trailers. And guys, they're not 4 seconds, but the footage was like 4 seconds. That doesn't spell good things for these properties, and especially it worries me because we all were excited for Devil May Cry. And now I'm more worried
yeah.
because I've only seen 4 seconds out of years of development.
Adi Shankar, just to be clear, Adi Shankar is not involved with Nocturne.
No,
That's something
yeah,
else now.
absolutely. He separated from it after Castlevania Season 3 because he got the green light for Devil May Cry and all that. But now you have Netflix executives looking at this going, oh, well, this guy was the thing that made it popular, and now he's just going to move over when we greenlight another project for him. At that point, I think Netflix would step in and basically say, nah, you need to be here for a couple of seasons at least and make sure that this is set before you move on into another project. Because I'll tell you right here now, if Devil May Cry does not perform or Tomb Raider doesn't perform, he's not going to be looked at that highly. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they basically tell him, yeah, you need to be a little bit more involved with these seasons. You can't just separate yourself after season 2 or whatever. So there's definitely stuff like that has to be looked into. I have a feeling that also in fact, a few of the independent movies that Netflix was funding have been cut off. One I actually heard about today that was being done by somebody else from a sitcom. It wasn't Growing Pains, but like as soon as I heard it, I thought about like Kirk Cameron. But it was another sitcom where somebody was directing an independent movie and Netflix was funding it, and they pulled the plug when they were about 80% through production. So at that point, it's like, oh, yeah, we have a movie here, and you're just not going to put it out at all? Well, that sucks. So I'll definitely tell you, Netflix has some changes coming to them in the next few years, now that they have a bunch of other services that can't provide them with the content that everybody was repeat watching. And also, for the record, people, also Cosmic Fury is not approved for another season, primarily because they're going to go and do an MCU with Power Rangers. Because that'll work out, right?
Always.
Mm-hmm. Hasbro, they make money out of everything they touch, and by that I mean nothing. So at that point, like, I'm gonna say this right off the bat. If people didn't expect these price hikes, you're absolutely wrong. They were gonna happen because this is basically the streaming services adapting to people like us who are interested in like that one season. We then watch it, and then we go to the next. We cancel our subscription so we can go to the next season on the other platform. These price hikes are trying to accommodate for that, as well as trying to accommodate for more budget. And I have a feeling that Netflix is going to be seeing some problems because a lot of the stuff that people thought were good are not getting that attention. But I don't think there's the most that I can tell people as far as advice is, like, me and my wife, along with you, Brenton, we're looking into this, and our answer simply is, if a streaming service is attached to another service, because we have Hulu attached to Disney Plus, or we just barely signed up for Walmart Plus because we do all our shopping at Walmart weekly, which technically has an attachment with Paramount Plus. So paying for Walmart Plus, you get Paramount Plus as well. If there aren't additions to that, we're basically saying, are we watching anything on it? And if not, we cancel it until there is something worthwhile to watch.
Yeah, honestly, that's the exact same train of thought that Jason and I
Yeah.
have, and I think that's most people's train of thought at this point. If the content's there and it's worth the value of the streaming service,
Mhm.
like, you know, for that premium rate, no ads, because kind of like what Alex said, isn't this the whole reason why we got away from cable in the first
Right.
place? Then yeah, I'll keep it. Otherwise, because I was even talking about this with my parents when I was in California, my mom and dad have who pay for a lot of the streaming services that I piggyback off of. They're even like considering, like, do we really need all this?
Mhm.
Is it worth it? Like, I don't. And And like you said, Adam, if there's no reason for it, then like I'm good to go. I'm done. So Jason and I have already agreed that once the final season of Stranger Things has been um premiered and released onto Netflix, because we do want to see ultimately how it ends, like we're done. We don't really feel the need to continue subscribing or watching content from Netflix
Right.
because it's too expensive.
Well, and the other question that I would have is like, let's just say for the sake of argument, you come back. Would you actually be considering just doing the ad tier instead of doing the premium tier? Because that's one of the discussions that we've had is like, we grew up in a time where we dealt with commercials all the time. So at that point, we actually are looking at this and going, well, if we're gonna open these things back up, I mean, we've dealt with commercials before, we know how to deal with them. So we'll probably just go into that tier and not have to worry about paying extra money.
Having also grown up in an age with commercials,
Yes.
super get what you're saying. However, um, I've been watching shows on streaming platforms long enough to say that I am exceptionally spoiled. So no,
No.
I don't think I would buy into.
No, that's the mentality right now.
I don't think I know that I would not want to subscribe into a tier with ads.
Nope.
If I know that I could subscribe into a tier without ads.
Mhm.
If I can avoid them, I will.
Mhm.
And again, it's because I am spoiled with being able just to watch content and watch television without having to without having to watch a commercial or an ad. So no, I would not buy into it.
Right. Alex, what about you? Like, do you look at the ad tier and go, well, maybe I can do this instead and save some money? Or are you just looking at like, oh, well, if there's just not any good anime content on Crunchyroll, I'll just unsubscribe for like a month?
Yeah, probably. And regarding the ads, I don't know. I guess it would just depend on the nature of the ads, how often they are, how frequent they are, how long they are. I could probably tolerate,
Yeah, we couldn't do like
if they're
the
reasonably
YouTube
spread
thing
out.
where like for a while there they were putting up 50-minute ads.
Yeah, and even though those are usually skippable, but they are it's annoying, like, when you're in the middle of something and it cuts off midway just to roll an ad,
Mhm.
especially when the ad is for something really terrible and, like, unrelated that you would have no interest
Or in
in,
some cases where
right?
the content creator like decides to put ads like every 2 minutes. And so you're
Yeah,
being
something like
pelted,
that.
like not even regular everyday commercials when we were kids pelted you every 2 minutes. Like they gave you like 5 to 7 minutes. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's really it. It's all just about what's it gonna be like before I really consider, but I think I would err more on the side of probably would just pay out a little more for the ad free.
Mhm. I'm almost kind of tempted though to make like a video series of what to do when commercials are on because there is a generation out there now that is probably going to comment on this podcast in particular and just say like I can't deal with it because I've never had this as a thing. I don't know what to do when commercials are on. So I'll make like this funny little mini series of like here's what you do when commercials are on. You go to the bathroom. You go make a sandwich. You
I'm
go
not
do a little
hungry.
bit of cleaning in your kitchen. Just just to be silly. Not necessarily to mock people, but just to be silly. Um all right, so I think we've pretty much got the final thoughts on this. I think this is definitely in response to what the streaming model kind of now is, and this is just their way to try and do it. I don't know if it's going to fix it for them, but who knows? And I just barely saw this. Maybe me and Brenton will have to talk about this later, but Netflix live action Yu Yu Hakusho has a release date and it's next month.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not watching it. Are you?
Um, I never got into it in the first place, so no, I don't think I
Yeah,
will be.
I'm not optimistic about it at all. I'm pretty like I get that some people really love the One Piece adaptation, and good on you. Like, they had one success, but unfortunately to me, it still looks like a track record of a bunch of failures with one success. So at that point, I'm not, especially with Yu Yu Hakusho, man. I love that series so much. If it's bad, that would wreck my month. And I can't do it. So, all right. So I think we've pretty much got the final thoughts out of this one. And now we can get into the discussion of the evening, which is a little bit more bad news, but obviously we can't cover it all because we're going to get additional information next month, I'm guessing, with the holiday season coming up. But in case people didn't know this, Best Buy, I think, was the first one to make the announcement, and then Walmart very quickly followed suit. And now I think even Target has, where they have announced that physical media in electronic sessions is going to be severely cut down in favor, especially in the game section, in favor of having subscription cards or game cards that allow for you to buy Nintendo currency or PlayStation currency or something like that, and keeping it strictly to that. And so I also got a bunch of people asking about this as a discussion. Is this the end of physical media as we know it?
It feels like the beginning of the end, at least.
Yeah.
I'm not there where it's
that way.
officially there. And I even said to people, like, it would take one or two more generations at the PS2 era to get to that point. And I think this is just basically the startings of it. But I am also going to point out, like, these stores only had these sections because people were buying things from them. And now with streaming services, especially gaming streaming services now existing, people aren't buying in those sections anymore, or they're doing things like I do, where, like, I don't even go to GameStop anymore. I pre-order on Amazon. So at that point it can be here on the day and I don't have to go anywhere. Or in some cases with some games, I just decide I don't want the physical media for it and I just get the digital version. So I will say that this is going to be a startup and people need to get used to that. But it is also a sad thing because I don't want to see physical media go away. I actually like putting these things into my bookshelf. That's me. And Alex, shut up. I know my bookshelf is very disorganized. I don't need you telling me that.
Oh my
Well,
god.
get your daughter something to do because she likes to stack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll just assign my youngest daughter to do it for me. Because she'd do it, but she'd do it in her own way. But yeah, is this the end of it? No, I think we've still got another year or two before it officially ends. Brinton, your thoughts on this revelation that, like, Best Buy, you can't buy your games at Best Buy and Walmart anymore unless you're willing to deal with the digital copy only.
If we're going more into this digital age, then I think there are a lot of things that need to happen and need to change dramatically
Absolutely.
and quickly. One of those things being like hardware space. Um, because in terms of video gaming, these new games are coming out, like base games, at almost like 100 gigabytes, and they're selling these consoles with like 500 gigabyte storage, but in reality it's not truly 500 gigabytes.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, I like, you want to go digital, that's great, that's fine. If it's reducing waste or whatever, um great. I'm not against that part of it. What I'm against is, then give us hardware that's actually going to accommodate for these large file sizes and make it affordable.
Yeah, this is not necessarily us roasting Nintendo. This needs to be considered for Microsoft and Sony as well. Even Steam needs to consider it.
Because notice, people, how my example is in regards to like PlayStation. Because when I went to go download Alan Wake 2, that was close to 90 gigabytes for the PS5 version. I had to delete 2 games that I was not playing.
I mean,
like digital games I was not
Let
playing
me add on to
just
that.
so I
Have
had
you
enough
had a
space.
game that came out this year where you haven't had to delete something on your hard drive?
I've had to delete games off my hard drives for almost every single
Same thing
game
here,
that I've
and that's
purchased.
getting annoying to me.
So, I mean, like, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this because I'm very much like you, Adam. I love being able to like, I love having a physical copy. I'm a huge fan of collector's
Mhm.
editions. I love being, having something that I can look at as, when I'm taking a mental break from like writing a paper, or I just want to daydream for a second
Mhm.
and I'm able to recall like memories from just by looking at something physical. Totally get the nostalgia from that.
Yeah.
But I also totally get this moving to a more digital age because that is the direction that we're moving
Mhm.
in. So I don't want to argue against that.
No.
I'm very much playing like devil's advocate here for both sides. However, to very much sound like a broken record, make hardware a lot larger and make it affordable
Mhm.
so that way we can actually do it.
Well, thankfully, I will say that this is going to go a little bit more in Sony and Microsoft's favor because we are starting to see an increase of hard drives that are in the, I think it was what, 25 terabyte to 50 terabyte kind of range becoming affordable. And these are like, I don't know, these are internal hard drives that are doing it, but we're also hearing about SSDs that are going up to like two. I think my brother has like a 250 gigabyte or a 2 terabyte SSD in his PC, and so at that point, like we're gonna start seeing increases on that, and they're getting cheaper. So for all the people that are worried because when COVID hit, you couldn't get PC parts really all that cheap, that is starting to change. And I'm very thankful for that because otherwise we'd all be screwed. Because it would still even be expensive to have a PlayStation version of a 50 terabyte hard drive. So at that point, if it becomes cheaper, then they can do it cheaper and then it can be available. I will say one thing I don't like with this. So they're still going to sell the accessories from what I've been able to tell. They're just going to greatly set that down. And so you're not going to be able to buy like all of the different controller variations for PlayStation 5 or whatever. You'll have to probably go online for some of the different color configurations. But one of their answers to that is, and I can't even believe they said it publicly, they're basically going to create like a voucher system if you want to be able to buy the next console, where they will keep the console in the back and you will have a voucher that you can give to them and you can pay for it. And the reason I'm worried about that is because you don't announce shit like that until it's about to release, because then at that point you don't get held at gunpoint for all of your copies. And so I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it. I think it would have been better to also announce like maybe you're going to have higher security on those release dates, but that's me. But I do think
No, you make some really good points there for sure.
And you also make a good point. If you're going to do this, they need to up the hard drive space for a lot of the stuff. Nintendo included. I'm looking at you. I'm also looking at Steam. When you announced your Steam OLED, and the first thing that you improve on is battery life and screen, kind of, but then you didn't improve on the performance of it or the hard drive. Steam, don't be Nintendo. Just saying.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you're designing a console, Nintendo, where you have to specifically in your like announcement and, oh hey, we've added this part of the console where you can add extra storage. How about you just give us appropriate amount of storage instead of having to pretty much say, yeah, we're not giving you a whole lot. So you could go spend extra money, and this is where you can put the additional storage
It just
instead.
depends
Like,
on what they have to announce next year. Because I'm still getting pelted by people who think that there's going to be a Switch 2 announcement next year, and I'm telling you right here now, if they haven't figured out the hard drive space, that's gonna hurt them. That's gonna hurt the Switch 2 right off the bat.
Yeah, it really will.
Because now people, now Nintendo is advertising, oh, we'll have all these really big games, except they'll never be played on Switch because you have to use cloud gaming in order to play them, and people don't like Nintendo's cloud gaming service right now. It doesn't work that great. So at that point, either you need to improve on the cloud gaming service, which I don't think you're going to do, or one of the ideas that I've seen thrown around that I think would be a much better idea is that your dock actually acts as a secondary hard drive. So that when you have those big, costly games that are going to require a lot of resources, you can basically plug your handheld in there for the additional power. So basically what it would be is, if people remember the RAM packs for the N64, that's what's being proposed here. And that actually might be a good thing to do, because we don't, like, when we're playing on the go, guys, we don't really play games that are all that costly, unless you're that one asshole on the airplane that has to play Skyrim for the 50th time. Most of us don't do that. We play indie games they're not that expensive, or we're playing on the Nintendo Switch Online service, again, not that expensive. So that might be the answer. Alex, what do you think that now these sections are going to be diminishing in mainstream stores?
Well, let's just hope that the online stores for now keep physical media alive. But yeah, I think it's like Brenton said, the biggest concern, of course, about a digital future are, well, two things for sure. Is one is capacity, hardware, and of course, network speeds, because especially here in the US, that's pretty spotty in a lot of places. It's getting better in many places, but we still got a lot of work to do if we're gonna truly become a all digital future, or just the kind of right. But I do see it potentially going in the direction like LPs are now, right? Where you know LP was the dominant music format, records. And then, of course,
For
they got
those who don't
replaced
know what
by
he's
newer
talking about, think
technologies.
VHS. Oh shit.
But right, but
Think Blu-ray.
vinyl
There you go.
and
Think Blu-ray.
yeah, vinyl's a collector's item now. People like to buy old vinyl, not even old. So they're releasing new stuff onto vinyl albums, like new songs or soundtracks, and they're collector's items. I could very well see that becoming a theme with Blu-ray in the future. Is every we'll still have Blu-rays, but they'll be like premium box sets with lots of collector
Do
goodies.
we see this affecting services like, say, limited run games, where they did those exclusive physical runs, but they did them for cheaper? And one of the reasons that they could do that was because they could put them on the mainstream store shelves.
Well, they still sell them digitally, so I don't see limited run being hurt too badly by this, because this is their bread and butter, is limited physical copies.
If anything, I
Their
could
aim
see
is
the
the
market
collector's market.
evolving and basically working directly with limited run, instead of like going and getting your physical copy from limited run from Target.
Mhm.
So that might be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who I don't even know if limited run actually does go to retail stores. I've always just known them as you buy from their
It's
website,
always
right?
been very hit and miss. It's not consistent. It just depends on what they're offering at that given time.
Because I've got one or two
Because
games
like for
from limited
example,
run myself, but I've
they
always
actually did
bought it
one of the
from.
releases for Shantae, and it only ever hit GameStop. It never went to Best Buy or any of those other places. But then they also did it was one of the Star Wars game. I think it was Knights of the Old Republic, when they announced that for Switch. That one hit mainstream because of the all the mainstream attention it was getting. And it's not like a physical game. Like, let me clarify that to you guys. It's not a physical game. You open it up and it's a code. So it's a code for the digital version, but you still have the physical box that you want. Um, so at that point, I mean, if anything, I see the service changing for them. I don't think it's going to go away. They'll just work out the deals with the companies directly, and the company will give them resources to be able to do the collector's edition stuff that Brenton's talking about, and that's how they go about it. And
Yeah, I said my piece.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So at that point, I have a feeling that we're not done discussing it because, like I said, the story is still kind of developing. We are seeing like a bunch of new stores considering whether or not whether or not they're going to continue to support physical media in there, as well as like tinier stores on whether or not they're going to do it. Not just GameStop, but like the mom and pop video stores are also considering whether or not they want to do it too. So we'll definitely have to discuss this, and we might have to bring in some additional help in order to be able to truly take it on, because also, nothing against Alex, but this is going to affect anime, and we need a lot of analysis when it comes to both gaming and anime to be able to properly give this the time that it deserves. So
I mean, to be real, most anime sections in most stores have been dead.
yeah,
for
pretty
a very
much.
long
Like
time.
Best Buy doesn't even have them
Best
anymore.
Buy isn't carrying. Yeah, every anime fan, from me to everybody I know, always has bought their Blu-rays online. So.
But we're having changes in that scape as well. So at that point, that's pretty much all we've got for here. So October is officially in the books. And we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So thank you guys so much for joining us on this discussion. If you have thoughts on any of this stuff, feel free to leave the comments down below, and we'd love to see the discussion there. We might even try and participate in it. Alex, if people want to reach out and check out your content or your opinions, where do they do that?
Find me on YouTube. Shadow Wizard 3000 is my channel.
All right. And do you have any videos coming up that you want to plug, or?
Not right now, but I'm sure I'll work on something when I...
Funniest thing, it's the holidays. We don't have time.
No.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
I have enough time to be able to put out as many videos as I have, and I'm thankful that they are doing as well as they are. So that'll be great. Brinton, how do people get a hold of you?
You all can find me on Twitter/X under Chitore30.
Twitterman X.
Or you can talk. Or you can just talk to Adam.
Yeah, that happens too. Or you can leave the discussion in the comments, and Brinton can see them. So at that point, he can comment if he wants to. So
very true.
At that point, that'll go ahead and do it for us. So we will have a November podcast where we will go into some stories, but then we're going to start wrapping up the year with the December and January podcast, because we're going to wrap up 2023 and then we'll look forward to 2024. Until then, we will see you guys next time for more geek news, reviews, and opinions. And also, because I completely forgot to do this, if you're brand spanking new, you can also check us out on a bunch of other different podcasting platforms, on Amazon, on Apple, on Google, on Player.fm, and of course on Spotify. So you guys can check us out there too. And we will see you guys next time to put November officially in the books. Until then, have a good day or night, stay safe, and we'll catch you then.